Hey everybody, it's John from Our Weird World, and this is the 200th episode celebration. We did a big celebration for 100 episodes, and so we had to do it again for 200. But we had to go bigger, right? Of course we did. So look, we're all adults here. Nothing reckless happened during this by any means. Everything was totally cool. And look, a podcast was recorded. I can't promise you that any of it is intelligible. So just sit back and enjoy me being silly for the next 45 minutes or however long you can patiently listen to this before you get sick of it. And just come back next week because we're talking about Native American stories. That's a good way to get back on track, I think. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thank you so much for all of your support and your feedback over the last 4 years. And we're going to keep this show going for at least a few more years. We'll see. So thanks, and try to enjoy this, I guess.
Our Weird World.
Welcome to Our Weird World. I'm your host, John Henson. Yeah. All right. We knew this was coming. I said it last week. We're going to try to get through this. It's been probably like 45 minutes since I did a thing. And you know what I did. So it is episode 200. We did it. We made it. It's been 4 years since the pandemic, kind of. And life has been really different. I don't know where I'm going with that. So we're going to not worry about it. I am going to try to tell you 5 stories from the state of Florida. We already did a Florida episode. I don't remember what episode it was. 5 different stories. I can do this. We're looking at the stories of Linda Keath, Jayson Laughman, Kenneth Haskins, and Christian Radecki. That's 4. And then the first story, I know these you don't know any of these people, but our first story after the music, and it's fancy music today. I did this in the first episode, but it's just a stupid song. It's a Florida song. And so after that song plays, we will get into the story of Linda Ducharme.
Florida! Take a ride, see the sights, have your fun, in the sun, see the old, see the new, for Florida belongs to you.
As long as you're white.
Plan a trip and do it soon.
Yeah.
Here today, tomorrow the moon.
Maybe.
Take the kids.
No.
Have a ball.
Or drink.
For Florida's the greatest of them all.
Highly subjective.
From the Gulf to the Atlantic,
Yeah.
and the Keys just beyond.
Because Jacksonville sucks.
It's beautiful and so gigantic.
Mostly.
And you can dream your Ponce de Leon.
I don't know what that
Tell the
means.
world,
Ba-ba.
sing it loud,
Boom, boom.
It's your state.
No,
say you're proud.
unless you're gay.
More to see, lots to do.
Da-da.
For Florida belongs to you.
Ooh, yeah. In 1982, Linda Ducharme met the love of her life. All right. His name was Bruce, and it was love at first sight. All right. Linda, I describe these two to you. Linda was kind of a squishy, square-faced, possibly somewhat sexually ambiguous carnival worker. All right. Bruce was a hard, weathered, rough carnival attraction of his own, in his own right, I guess. Linda her heart just pounded in her chest, and she was just overcome with just an inexplicable feeling down deep inside her when she got on Bruce and rode him for the first time in one of those probably steamy, humid Florida nights. And Linda is just riding Bruce so hard. Oh God, the first time, it was such a beautiful, glorious evening. Bruce was cold to the touch, but just after a few minutes of Linda's embrace, he would warm up in the spots where her hands had been. Linda, and her curly, silver, mildly greasy hair, fluttered in the breeze as her body traveled up and down and around even, and maybe swayed back and forth just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit, in the evening, sticky, humid Florida air. The problem with this entire, Bruce is not a person. Bruce is a Ferris wheel. All right. Linda Ducharme, I went through, where I took you on a journey. All right. You're probably imagining these two people doing all of the things that I just said kind of sensually, because that was on purpose. But no, Linda, she's just riding a Ferris wheel. But she loves it. She loves that Ferris wheel. Linda did not care that Bruce was a Ferris wheel, by the way. She loved Bruce with everything she had. And they had a torrid affair, you guys. She could not stop riding him. You get she's not doing it. She's just riding him. She's just going around and riding. She loved his long steel rods and the way that he would groan as he moved. You know how Ferris wheels do, because they're scared, very, very poorly put together. But unfortunately for Linda, as soon as their love had become alive, whatever, it quickly disappeared. In 1986, a storm severely damaged Bruce and forced him to move away to Wichita, Kansas, to fix his life. Like, he's a broken Ferris wheel man, and he's injured, and he got hurt by a storm, and then he had to go to Wichita, because that's where you go to get fixed, apparently. Even worse, though, those repairs never came. It was going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to make Bruce right again. And, look, here's the thing, you guys. Sometimes you got to put a Ferris wheel down, all right? Because Ferris wheels are more like horses than people. And, you just got to put them down if you can't afford the bills. And I mean, look, it's 1982. This is, I think, when the AIDS epidemic was going on. Maybe it was later in the 80s. I don't know. But there's AIDS. And look, like, people can't afford AIDS coverage or Ferris wheel health coverage, whatever I'm talking about. They couldn't afford it if Ferris wheel coverage even was a real thing. And so the Carnival company was just like, yeah, we got to put Bruce down. He's ridden, a lot of people have ridden him, all right? He has been touched by countless women and a lot of kids. And that sounds, it sounds kind of weird when you're doing, God, this episode's going to suck. This is going to be the worst episode ever. Bruce, they got to put him down. He's got to go to the great carnival in the sky to be ridden, I guess, in heaven. Linda, she's devastated. She tries to move on. She went on other rides, but none of them gave her the same rush that she felt when she was with Earth. You think that, like, Linda was so repulsive and unattractive to the opposite sex down in Florida, which has got to be hard to do. Because, like, you know, what they say, like a New York 1 is still a Florida 4, whatever, right? Like, that's just is the way it goes. I know it's like the opposite for some reason, but anyway, but like you think, but like you think she was just so, like, I've seen a picture of her. She's not like, she's not for me. She's not my type, but I can see how someone might be like, yeah, all right, maybe, like, they probably got water on the brain or something, but they're, it might be something that they're into. You don't know, but maybe she had never felt the warm embrace of literally anything. Even her dog wanted nothing to do with her. And she just, like, her brain just kind of felt it's not this serious, but maybe when she touched the Ferris wheel, she felt love for the first time. It was the first time that she allowed herself to really open up and accept the sensation of another. Maybe. I don't know. All hope, though, we're back into the story. All hope seemed lost until one of Linda's friends, who, I'm so glad she had friends, but how did they let her get to this point? One of her friends found Bruce, found where he had been laid to rest, and they got reunited. They got reunited at the carnival graveyard. And that's such a touching story. And Linda, at that point, she resolved to put Bruce back together and return him to the carnival where they had first met. And even crazier, Bruce asked Linda to marry him. You know, kind of how girls imagine someone would propose to them. That's really what happened. Linda imagined that Bruce proposed to her, and the two actually somehow got married. This couldn't be legally binding because that's illegal. You can't marry inanimate objects because they cannot give consent. Somehow, Linda found a former Catholic priest to perform this ceremony. And I kid you not, the phrase, "I tie you flesh to steel," was uttered. And here's what's crazy. Like, as far as I know, Linda still got her Ferris wheel. They lived happily ever after. That's a real story from Florida. A woman married a Ferris wheel because her parents just screwed her up so bad. I need some water because, oh yeah. I hope all of that comes through your car stereo. All right. We're on to the next story. On the morning of December 23rd, 1991, Linda Keath and her co-pilot Carl Terry departed Ocala airstrip in Ocala. They're in Ocala to go to Winter Haven, which is not that far away. It's like probably a 45-minute car ride in the middle of the night with no traffic. I just love that this dude is named Carl Terry, which is like one of the most Florida names ever. Like the most white Florida name. You go far, like when you get to South Florida, the name Carl Terry doesn't have as much of an impact because everyone down there is Hispanic. Was my joke. So you swing and a miss sometimes, you guys. Anyway, Linda, she was actually a pretty experienced pilot, and she had actually built this mini empire all over Florida with her husband Dan. She owned a bunch of stuff. She owned radio towers. She owned duplexes. She owned citrus orchards. Like all of the things that you need for parts of Florida. Whatever. Carl Terry. That's how I want to just say his name. Carl Terry. And he was a Vietnam and Korean War veteran who was helping Linda earn an instrument rating for her pilot's license. I think that really is just like aeronautical speak for like she's trying to just get certified for being able to read instruments on the dash. And I guess you get a little gold star on your license when you're able to do that. So anyway, that's not the point of the story. Cause Dan, he was helping Linda, with something else. All right. So here's sex is what I mean. I can't think of a fun analogy. They're doing it. All right. They were having an affair and they went off and they were supposedly doing their little instrument reading. He was reading her instruments, if you know what I mean. Once they reached a cruising altitude of 2,500 feet, the right wing just breaks off this plane. All right. It's the early 90s. Like planes have figured it out, right? Like it's not like this is the 1920s when a plane could just all of a sudden disintegrate in the middle. This is the 90s. And like, yeah, it's a small plane, but the whole wing broke off. The engine on this plane, because this was one of those planes that have engines on the wings, apparently, the right wing breaks off the plane. And then the engine somehow, because I would thought it would go the other way, the engine kind of pivots towards the fuselage. That's the main tube of the plane, and slices it open. That's wild. And then the plane explodes in midair, and then just kind of does that death spiral all the way down, and then blammo slams into the ground. All right. Here's what's crazy. When the NTSB, just like the ATF of planes, when they released their final report, I don't think that even makes sense. They released their final report of the crash investigation over a year later. All right, obviously, because Linda and Carl Terry, they're dead. All right, they're super, super dead. And they concluded, the NTSB did, that the plane could have absolutely landed safely had the pilot just been paying attention. Because maybe they were supposed to notice that. Maybe those instruments were going off. Maybe Carl Terry was messing with the panel there, really getting the alarms going, if you know what I mean. Finger banging. That's what... that's what I was saying. So, why... Here's the thing. Why wasn't the pilot... Look, you guys know. I already said it. Like here and like, and here's the thing. Woo. I was just doing burnouts around that thought, not going anywhere. They were like, look, it's a small 2-person plane, you guys. There was surely enough conversation going on between 2 professional adults. A lot of it probably mostly questions along the lines of, you like that? How about that, girl? Because that's probably how Carl Terry pleases his women. How about right there, girl? You! Yes, sir. Oh, you, whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's just how I want Carl Terry to sound. All right? They weren't at a high enough altitude for like a pressurization issue to where they would pass out. So what happened? All right, here's the thing. They found Linda and Carl's bodies, Carl Terry, and they found them. They were both partially clothed. They were partially clothed. The pilot seat, the co-pilot seat they found had been fully reclined because Linda's over there working that throttle, baby, and neither were wearing their seatbelts or shoulder harnesses, which, hang on, that's a bit presumptive. All right. I feel like if a plane crashes, seatbelts are great. You're getting out of that seatbelt. Even if you're getting thrown and violently separated from the seatbelt. assume, because like the planing also exploded in midair and then it crashed. I don't know if I agree with that, but you get it. You get it. All right. Anyway, we're gonna go on to the next story. All right. One August morning in 2013, 34-year-old Jayson Laughman was in the mood for some canned shrimp. All right. That is the Benedict, nope, the Eggs Benedict. That's what it is. See, I was going to say, my brain was like, Benedict Cumberbatch. And I was like, that's not it. That's a person. That's not food. But then I was like, did Benedict Arnold? But no, that was the history guy. They wouldn't have named. And then it was like, nah, dude, Eggs Benedict. Because that sounds fancy. That's where I was going with that. Canned shrimp, the Eggs Benedict of Florida. God, jeez, man. It's canned shrimp. That's a weird thing to want for breakfast, is what I was really trying to accentuate. I didn't even know canned shrimp was a thing that you could buy. I know you could get like canned tuna and a little mashed up little tuna. I didn't know canned shrimp. I'm legit kind of curious about that now, though. All right. I criticized it at first, and I should have. I should have been more open-minded. All right. Think about what you could do with some canned shrimp other than give it to your cat. Like, you could make a shrimp patty, like Spam or bologna, or like a hamburger. You can make a little shrimp burger with that canned shrimp, unless it's like pieces, like whole shrimps in the can. Then that's weird. I can't get behind that. I thought it was going to be like tuna, where there's just like kind of like, you can cut it up, it's mushy, little bite-sized pieces, not whole tunas in a can. You can't do that. Tunas are gigantic, but you cut like a little filet mignon. God, dude, get back into the story. He wanted canned shrimp for breakfast. Unfortunately, when Jayson went to his kitchen to grab his snack, the can of canned shrimp, which he knew it should have been there. He got it at the grocery store yesterday, probably the Winn-Dixie, because his 2013 Publix wasn't like all that yet. All right, he's still at the Winn-Dixie, and he could not find his can of canned shrimp. And there was only one person who was capable of this theft, and that was his mom's no good boyfriend, Michael Earhart, who lived in the house with Jayson and his mom. 34-year-old Jayson eating canned shrimp because he still lives with his mom. Or does he still live with his mom because he eats canned shrimp and no woman will respect that kind of behavior? He knows that his mom's boyfriend took it, and he goes and he accuses him. Michael, you done stole my canned shrimp. Michael's over here like, I didn't eat your shrimp, boy. And that voice sounds problematic. And so they agreed to take it outside and fight it out like a couple of men, because men solve their problems through violence. Once they were outside for this fight, Jayson grabbed a small statue, which I hope was just a little tiny garden gnome. I don't know why. This is just what I want to imagine. The Travelocity gnome threatens to beat Michael with it. But Michael, he's like, yo, dog, you don't want to do this. Please put the gnome down. And we'll go back inside where it's like, so he puts the gnome down. Michael's like, all right, dog, I'm done. Goes back into the house where it's safe from getting stabbed or beaten with a garden gnome. Jayson's not done. He tries to go back inside to confront Michael again because, by God, that selfish jerk he stole his can of shrimp. All right. There's only one problem now. Michael had locked himself in the bedroom so as not to be disturbed because he was done with this. But rather than knock politely and wait for a response, Michael, I'd love to just continue this discussion, sir, if you don't mind. But Jayson did not do that. Jayson grabbed his trusty samurai sword and just goes all The Shining on the bedroom door, just hacking at it, punching through the wood. He just like looks at it, it's like, "Brah, give me my shrimp." And then finally, the mother steps in after all this and convinces Jayson to calm down. And Jayson, he's like, "All right, I'm sorry." And he goes, leaves the couple in the bedroom. Mom goes in to Michael, and like, I hope they start having sex right there. Hope Michael is just like, "Yeah, I'm banging his mom, and I'm gonna tell him that as I smack that, whatever." You know, that's just a fun thing that I would do, or I would try to do if I was in that situation. But I'm not that white trash. Jayson, he does not actually calm down, right? Like, he returns a short time later with a handful of kitchen knives, and now he's just throwing them at Michael. Michael, he's just there with just little dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge with all the knives, not even just butter knives, man, all the steak knives and the paring knives and maybe even the butcher knife, man, just you know, he's slanging them. And where am I? Michael, he escapes through a sliding glass door, because of course he did. And police were finally called to the scene a short time later. Jayson, he's taken away. I don't know what happened after that. That's where the story ends. All right. I got to get through these last two stories. Kenneth Haskins, he had one joy in life. He loved, more than anything in this world, the one thing that brought him joy was just choking his chicken right in front of the windows and front door of his apartment. Just tanning that leather. That don't even probably make sense. Just to anyone who could see it, especially the son. He wanted the son to see him doing it. Maybe it's a form of expression, you know? Maybe it was the only place he could actually do it to enjoy. You know how some people got to kill somebody in order to blah everywhere? Maybe that's what Kenny's problem was. He just needed the sun. He's a big fan of the Beatles song, "Here Comes the Sun." Da, na, 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 you know? And like, no one likes this, all right? No one, and I'm talking about the story. Maybe people like this show. The management company, the apartment, the landlord, they're not amused by this. And they had every right to ask Haskins to stop just why-ba-da-ba-doo-ba himself or whatever. I don't know. I couldn't think of a word to say. Look, an old man jerking off into the ether of nowhere, just in his own dimension, and everyone else is just an NPC. And this is what he's doing. Kenneth Haskins legitimately looked like an albino orc from Lord of the Rings after that orc had shot himself in the face with a shotgun. All right, let me tell you something. You look up a mugshot of Kenneth Haskins, his nose practically non-existent. Like, he's got two slits in his face where his nose holes are. No nose cover. You know how like a vent cover for like laundry or something? Like, that's what a nose is for the air that goes through. Kenny doesn't have this. All right. His eyes are like slanted downward. You know how, not in the way that people mock Chinese people, but his eyes are just like slanted down. And he stared off. Two different eyes, two different directions, right? One eye looking at you, the other looking for you. He just, oh man, what a creep. Despite the management's pleas, for asking this botched plastic surgery Quasimodo to stop spanking his monkey all of the time. Haskins wasn't having any of this. Oh, I just scraped my teeth together. And the only response that a man with his insatiable drive for slow stroking. On February night, 2014, Haskins doused his apartment with all sorts of just flammable liquids and set the place on fire. That's not like a weird euphemism for his jerking off. Like, he literally did that. And so 3 other units in the complex were damaged. Haskins was arrested for arson and taken to jail. That's the end of that story. I want to keep making jokes, but I'm afraid none of them will land because I'll screw it up. Our final story here. In 2015, a vampire, a literal vampire, knocked on Christian Radecki's door in nearby Cape Coral and warned him that all of the children in the neighborhood were going to be sacrificed to the vampire coven. This was a very serious problem because I didn't realize vampires were from Florida. It seems like too much sunlight, if I'm being honest. The fate of this neighborhood in Cape Coral, which is like either near Naples and Fort Myers, or it's like in the Fort Lauderdale area. It's one of those places. I don't know. I don't care. I'm really trying to get through this. It all rested on Radecki's spindly little white shoulders. Right? He sprinted out of his home and down the street. Right? Thankfully, one of the local sheriffs lived nearby, and Christian whipped his old silver sedan into the officer's driveway. And Christian, assuming that all police officers are just permanently bolted into their seats and aren't real people that have real lives, he gently rear ends the back of the police SUV to get the attention of the guy who's not even in the car. And then Christian realizes this, and he jumps out of his car, runs around to the front of the SUV, and then he uses the hood as a springboard to jump onto the roof of the SUV. And there he stops and he hears, I should put this I can't do it right now. I just don't want to do it. And I'm not going to go back and do it. But Hall & Oates' Rich Girl. You're a rich girl. I think that's that song. If there's another one, that's wild. That was blaring from his car window. He's all in it. You're a rich girl. Anyway, and he's just dancing to it. And he just starts dancing to it. And that song was then replaced by Supertramp's Goodbye Stranger. I don't know how that song goes. And that did not faze Christian Radecki. He just keeps just jigging with it on the roof of his neighbor's cop car. All right. And then when the radio transitioned to a commercial break, Christian snaps out of his dancing hypnosis. Oh, God, this is getting so difficult. Christian slides down the windshield. He plucks off a windshield wiper and he just throws it across the yard. Then he hops down off the car. All right, grabs an American flag that this officer was using to decorate his yard, and he just parades himself around the property. USA, we will beat the vampire. I don't know, man. I could have come up with a better song, and then I didn't. Neighbors called the police, obviously, who arrived a short time later, like probably as in walked out of their house, but not really. Hauled off Christian to jail. Ironically, as the radio had come back, You're the One That I Want from the Grease soundtrack was playing in the background. That's such a great story because the police arrived and they're like, you're the one that I want. And then Christian Radecki's probably like, because he's scared and he's trying to run away from the cop. You got to visualize the story, guys. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Anyway. Finishing up here, when asked about all of this, Christian insisted that he wasn't on drugs. Yeah, me neither, guy. He hadn't been drinking and didn't have any known mental health conditions, which that is also not true, my guy. Oh, man. At least one, if not all of those statements were clearly incorrect. But thanks to Christian, by all accounts, though, his dancing on a cop car saved the children from being vampire sacrifices, and we're done with the stories. The end. So, Florida, the sequel in the books, and all these stories were in the same book as the last one's a story. It's called Where the Weird Things Are, because you betcha. So you should go, guys. Can you guys just potentially buy my books so that I can be a famous author? That'd be cool. That'd be dope. Just travel around giving talks because people are self-important like that. God, that'd be so great. You could go to johnhensonwrites.com to learn more. And so that is it. Here's the thing, you guys. Here's what we learned today. What did we learn? Here's what we learned. These like synthetic edibles that are out there, they are fantastic, and they're better for you than alcohol. So if you're getting drunk all the time, that's not great. That's doing that. I was about to say that's doing more body to your harm, but that wouldn't have made sense. It's doing more harm to your body. I'm out of my mind right now. That's good. I need that. All right. My brain needs to defrag itself quite a bit. And this is how I do it. Because like I said, last week, I am right as rain for the next like 4 or 5 days. Oh, so it just stops after 5 days? Doesn't seem. You got to take a pill every day for your mental health problems. Say something now. Anyway, it's just great. And so I can understand why like lazier, less motivated, more entitled people could make this their entire personality and abuse it and be a lazy pothead type. So like, I get it, but also it's natural. Not the one I took today. This is synthetic and it's wild, but natural. Like this should be illegal probably. But loopholes and politics and stuff, which nope, we're not going down that rabbit hole. We've been here for 45 minutes already. We're not doing it. That's it. We're not doing that. What did we learn thing right now? Next week, this is some odd connections here. Next week, we are looking at some Native American stories. Finally, going to recognize the Native Americans mostly, which seems appropriate that it took 200 episodes to do that since they've been forgotten by everybody else. I'm sorry. Like, that sucks. White people are the worst. But we're going to look at the stories of the unknown Catawba warrior, Jack Fiddler, Swift Runner, and Joe Medicine Crow. That sounds like an alt country dude if I've ever heard one. It's not. It's a Native American guy. I already said that. Thank you for 200 episodes. You're welcome, me. And thank you to all of you out there who listen. And for all of you who have left a review, please leave a nice one after this. Don't be judgy. All right. No one needs that. But thanks to all of you who have been here since the beginning, and those of you who have come along the way and gone back and listened to the old episodes and appreciate how much better they are now. You're all my little weirdos. All right. We're not branding you. Stop. That's not. If we get a Patreon, that'll be that'll be what you're called. You'll be called a weirdo, and that's when it'll happen. But no, there's no reason to start a Patreon yet. That's the truth. Thanks for listening. Tell all your friends. Oh, we're stumbling across the finish line here, man. I'm going to go take a nap. Oh, boy. All right. I need to stop this. Stop.